Hey guys, what's going on? We're back doing something a little different, doing an interview. First of all, thank you all for watching my content. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to this. So I got Ryan here, who's the host of the Near Mint podcast, hockey podcast. Um, Ryan, why don't we start by telling us a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, hey everyone, and I'm just kind of a hockey guy all around. Always loved hockey, played hockey, watched hockey, fantasy hockey, and when I was a kid, I was into hockey cards too. But like, just everything hockey is kind of my passion. Other than that, I'm a designer, and you know, obviously recently started the Near Mint Hockey Card podcast. But yeah, it's kind of my jam.
Cool. So let's talk a little bit more about that. First of all, I love the podcast. Great podcast. When I first started collecting, it was actually, I talk about this all the time. Like, there's just not a heck of a lot of content out there for hockey, and I want more people making stuff because I love watching it, and that's one of the big reasons I do this. Number one, for fun, but I want other people to do it too, and I hope that hockey card collecting grows. But why don't you tell me how did that come to be with the podcast? How did it start?
Yeah, so I guess it starts with me getting into hockey cards and like just getting stoked about them back in September. Um, and once I had started talking about hockey cards with Elon, who I've played fantasy hockey with for a long time, he was just like, "Let's just start a podcast." And I was like, okay. I mean, I had also been streaming NHL, the video game, for a while, so I kind of had a setup ready. I was like, kind of like ready to do it and just jump right in. And we kind of started it the next week. Like, we just started talking about hockey cards, and we were fresh onto the scene. So there's probably some things that I said in the first episode that I would kind of like revise at this point. But no, we just dove right in. And like you said, there wasn't really a lot of hockey card content. There's tons of sports card content, but no one's really focused on hockey card content. And like you say, a few people have popped up even since I started.
Right. No, absolutely. I'm always looking for new content, and it's a unique opportunity that we have here. If you're looking for specifically hockey content, there's a few other channels out there, but there's just not a lot. A lot of box breaks and those things going on. But it's great to have some good content, and you guys do a great job over there. So what are some things that you have coming up in the podcast? Anything you can like what are the plans?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I've been pretty busy lately, so it hasn't been a weekly episode thing, but the plan is to go back to weekly. I want to do some fun things, like maybe some ranking episodes where maybe we rank like the designs of Young Guns. I want to do some interviews like this as well, so I'll get you back on for your third episode on the show. Um, I've got some really fun ideas too. I don't want to spoil too many of them, but like sort of more like game show style things that I think will be really, really fun once I've got a few people that are interested.
That's awesome. One of the best things about the podcast as well, and not the podcast itself, but is the Discord that we have going. So why don't you tell people a little bit about the Discord, the growth, what it's about, and why they should maybe come over and just check it out and talk some hockey cards.
Yeah, so I started the podcast and we had probably 8 to 10 episodes done, and there was starting to be some traction on YouTube and people were commenting, but there wasn't really a place for people to ask questions or talk about things. And so I spun up this Discord, and you know at first there was only a few people, but it's really grown, and now there's chatter every day. There's lots of different channels for talking about investing or PC or like really just whatever you want. If I don't have the channel, I'll just make it for you. And yeah, there's lots of great people there. Really just a great time to hang out. And yeah, if you want to join, you can find Near Mint on any social at Near Mint Hockey, or just put in Near Mint Hockey Card Podcast anywhere, and the link is everywhere, so you'll find it.
Yeah, awesome. It's super fun, really good group. The vibe is really good. there's none of that garbage that you can get in other discords. And it's all hockey. Well, majority is hockey cards, but we're buddies. It's a tight group, but it's good. It's always good to get new people in there and keep growing for sure. I really enjoy it, and guys have a lot of good insight there, and I hope others come and join too. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my favorite things is there's some people that have been collecting for a long time, so you get kind of their perspective of those, like, let's call them veterans. But then there's also some people that like are, let's call them rookies or young guns maybe.
There you go.
And they've got questions about shipping or like the same things that we learned, and
Yeah.
there's a nice like conversation to be had and knowledge to be shared between kind of everyone at different expertise levels.
Yeah, absolutely. That sort of leads us into our next conversation. Like let's talk about a little bit of cards. Like what do you personally like to collect? I know different people like to do different things. We have some guys in there who are vintage. You have some patch auto guys. You have your young gun guys. There's a whole mix, and people who bring a lot of perspective and just ideas, things I hadn't thought about. But what do you like to collect?
Well, I guess I should start by saying that like I'm mostly an investor, and I got into this after watching Gary Vee, who talks about sports cards all the time. Although, if Gary Vee's watching, he said hockey cards weren't really a great investment, but I beg to differ. So I think he was wrong on that point. Hockey cards have been pretty good as far as the trajectory has gone. But I will say that I do have some cards that I have just because I love. And being a designer, like the look of them does have a big impact on me. I personally like a more like clean card. I don't love the flashy or shiny stuff as much. But if we're talking products, my favorite product is SPA or SP Authentic to get
Yeah.
those future watches. There's something about a nice autograph. They're serialized. I love the design pretty much all of the years. So that's like I would say my number one, and then the young guns are just a part of what I have as well. From a design perspective, I like the canvas ones of a lot of them actually.
Yeah, I've gotten big into the canvas. I mean, they grade really well too. So, and a lot of the cards, just I find the canvas are better photos. It seems like the upper deck photographers, or I don't know if they're third party, whoever takes the pictures for hockey cards, it seems like they're a little bit more risky in terms of the picture that they put on the canvas versus your traditional young guns hockey picture. Do you have a preference, or you notice that as well?
Yeah, I have noticed that they're a little bit more artistic maybe with their photographs. Not always. Sometimes it's just a normal photo, but one of the ones I really love actually is the Philip Broberg card. Probably not as well known, but I recently got a bunch of those, and it's like an above shot, and you kind of just see him on the ice. You don't even really see a lot of detail, but there's like a lot of ice. I think there's even like maybe Stanley Cup playoffs partially visible on the ice. It's just a really, really cool shot. And like you say, I think for regular young guns, they normally try to get like their face or more of a close up going on.
Right. So, other than, I mean, so you said that the Future Watch autos are sort of, or the SPA rather, are your favorite cards. You prefer the patches? Do you prefer just the autos, or like them both?
Yeah, I'm not really much of a patch guy. If there's like something beautiful, like I'm not against it, but in my experience, most of the patches are landscape cards, and I'm really more of a portrait card kind of guy. Um, for a couple reasons, like when you grade them, it looks a lot better
Right.
because the slab just is oriented that way. And also, they're in the top loaders, so it just kind of everything kind of is portrait in the world of trading cards, even though there's so many horizontal cards. So that's kind of a thing for me. It's kind of a weird issue, but yeah, like so I do love the autographs. I think that adds like a really nice touch to a card. Definitely on card autographs too, but um yeah, it really like it depends.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. You can just see some cards where I mean, a beautiful patch is a beautiful patch, right?
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't call myself a patch guy, but I can appreciate a cool four color,
Yeah.
Future Watch auto patch that's maybe Chicago and has like the green and red and black and
Yeah.
yellow and all that in there. I think maybe it's a dock I've seen like that most recently, but I can certainly appreciate that. But for me as well, I just like a clean auto. And
Right.
I know that's where we differentiate a bit. Is I'm a big fan of OPG Platinum, which is the shiny stuff that you're not a huge fan of. I enjoy the product, but yeah, to each their
Yeah.
own, right? That's what's so great.
I mean, I actually do have a card here from OPG Platinum, and that's why I say like it does depend.
Right.
I've got my McDavid OPG Platinum blue
Yeah.
here, and like this is shiny, but it's still subtle. It's still got that, you know, design flair, and it's a blue background with a team that wears blue, so it just kind of works. Whereas like some of the flashier ones I'm not into, but this one I love.
Yeah, those are great cards, and I actually have I've sold a few of those on eBay. Apparently, other people like them too because they tend to go pretty quick. As soon as I post those OPG Platinum Blue retros, they're gone.
Yeah.
So we're probably not alone in that. But speaking of which, show and tell. I asked you if you could maybe grab a few of your favorite cards. Maybe some are design, maybe they're just personal favorites. But let's show the people what Ryan likes.
Yeah, so I decided not to show you like my favorite cards because that's just gonna be like my McDavid Young Guns
Right.
or my Draisaitl Young Guns canvas, and like people know what those look like, and
Right.
I've told those stories a bit before, so I went a little bit of a different route.
Cool.
But one of my favorites is this Yari Curry autographed masterpieces card, and it's one of the first sets that I just got a random card in the mail one day. Like someone threw kind of an extra in,
Right.
and it was I think it was a Kings goalie. It was just a random card, but I loved the design. It's this canvas, and uh, all the artwork is like actual artwork, and it's just a beautiful set. And so I got this Curry auto.
What was that auto on? Did you get that signed, or it came as a Curry auto? Like it's
Yeah, so like I bought it this way, but
Okay.
it is an in-person auto.
Right, I see.
That has been authenticated.
Authenticated, right.
So this is like the base set of this or the card from the base set.
Right.
And I actually went and got the rest of the base set because I loved it so much. And that's like the only set that I might ever collect because I don't know, I don't find the need to have sets in a box somewhere.
Right. Yeah. I'm with you there for sure. You got anything else?
Yeah.
Any other goodies?
I do. I have two more sweet ones for you.
All right.
So the first one I'll show you is my Corey Perry, or Scory Perry, as I like to call him.
He's been on fire lately.
Oh man, like just one of those guys. Future Watch auto with the Ducks, and I've always loved those jerseys. Mighty Ducks movies are hot in the news right now. So yeah, like, and just a beautiful card, nice auto. Just love Perry.
Yeah, he's got a decent. We were actually just talking in the Discord about different autos, and his auto there. It's it's nicer. We see worse these days, and I think it's a little bit unfortunate that people don't. There you go. I think it's a little bit unfortunate that players don't take a little bit more time to hone the craft of, just figuring out a nice auto that they can do quickly for fans. But, I get it. These are kids. These guys are, 17, 16, 17, playing full-time hockey, and they just learned how to write a few years ago, and now they got to sign 999 Future Watch autos.
Yeah. I mean, you know what though? Like I practice my auto in like class or whatever, and I'm not giving anyone signatures. So yeah, like I think they could come up with some flair, and like you say, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. One of my favorites that I have is a Brock Besser, and it's just two big B's, and then he puts his
Right.
number. It's like, but it's got that flair, and you can tell like he's got some hands. Let's say.
Exactly, exactly. No, we were talking about that too. I did practice my auto extensively. I'm a little bit older than you, but I practiced it for when I got in the NHL, and it never
Right, right,
happened. But I still have the same auto, and I'd be very happy if my auto was on a card. But
right.
anyways, maybe kids don't do that these days. What's the third card you got there, Ryan?
The third one is another one that I bought like maybe not even a month after I started getting into cards, and it is also from this kind of style of
Oh,
canvas,
nice.
a Willie O'Ree
Yeah,
autographed card. And there's actually not that many photographs of Willie O. So you'll see his photograph kind of reused in a lot of cards, but this is one of the better renditions, better looking cards in my humble opinion. And yeah, he's just such a impactful guy to hockey. They just honored him this year by retiring his jersey,
yeah.
and yeah, just love his story. If you ever want like a really heartwarming story from like the best guy ever, go watch something by Willie O'Ree.
Yeah, that's a beautiful card there too. I've seen a few different cards from Willie O'Ree, and that's a really cool card you got there. You got to get that slabbed up.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it. It's a bit hard to get things slabbed today, and I don't think that I'm selling this at any point. So there's no real hurry. I should mention it's also numbered out of 35, so that's pretty sweet.
Oh, nice.
Um, yeah, just a really cool card.
Right on. So I mean, sticking with the cards a little bit, different people look for different things when they're looking to purchase cards. What do you look for in your card investments, card purchases? Not so much the PC because well, I guess you can touch on that too, but PC is usually just your own thing, but more from the investment side. When you're looking to buy a player, what are some of the things that you look for to find perhaps an asset that you think is going to appreciate or it's undervalued? What do you look for in the cards?
Well, so there's a few things. The first thing is I tend to look where I know more often. So like I'm more likely to buy an Oilers card or like this year someone in Canada because those are the people I'm seeing. And I think I know the most about those players and what's going to happen with those players. That said, the next thing for me is really just timeliness. So, you know, before the season started, I was really focused on picking the guys that I thought might have a great season and getting the deals because the season hadn't started yet and people weren't hyped up yet.
Right.
Um, so like the time that I buy something is maybe more important than like how I'm choosing which player.
Right.
Um, Another great example is like I bought a Tyler Toffoli right after he got traded. So like acting on like things that happen, like the trade deadline just passed, and people are making bank by just like quickly buying things and then
Right.
flipping them, um, or buying like the Taylor Hall because he just went to Boston, and kind of looking at what sorts of events or what sorts of things can happen to increase the value. And the flip side of that as well. It's important to look at the flip side and not buy the, Carter Hart when he's really high or the Elias Pettersson when he's really high because you're not going to get the best deal then.
Yeah, I definitely talk a lot about that. I think at a video, I don't know, just a couple back talking about chasing returns, and we'd seen Austin Matthews skyrocket for pretty obvious reasons. I mean, the guy's playing out of his mind,
Yeah.
but you can't be chasing those guys. So that Toffoli worked out pretty good for you though.
Yeah, no, it did. I got a few of his cards. I think I even got a PSA 10 that I've already flipped. And, like if I had held them even longer, maybe they would have done better. But I was just looking for that opportunity. Montreal players, Edmonton players,
Right.
Toronto players. Like anytime something happens in those markets, you're going to see movement in the community because hockey cards are so based on that hype, right? Like, bet you if you
Yeah.
look at the standings right now, there's some players at the top of the points standings that their hockey cards haven't moved an inch
Yeah.
because nobody's talking about them. It doesn't matter if no one's talking about them.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think would have happened to that Tyler Toffoli had he gone to the Buffalo? Well, maybe Buffalo's quite a bad example. Um, who's a good example? What if he went to the New York Islanders and put up that same sort of production? How do you think that would have affected that card price? Because just to provide some context, you bought it, I believe it was at that time around the $10-12 mark. Does that sound
I think it
right?
was even a little bit less, like 8 or 9, and
Okay.
like for the ungraded one, obviously.
Right, for the raw.
Um, yeah, and I bought 2 or 3, and they're selling between 40 and $45, and that
Right.
was a month or two ago. So, you know, after all the fees and things, like probably what is that? 4 times your money,
Yeah.
5 times your money. Um, but I think like it's entirely because he went to Montreal and did good things, right? If he goes to the Islanders or even like Calgary, like a hockey city, um, it just doesn't have the same impact. And maybe he like doubles in value, but I'm not even positive that's true. It's such a hot market in Montreal, and there's only a few of them that I believe in that way. Like I think Montreal, Toronto, Edmonton, and in the States, like maybe New York, but even then, like it's really those three for me.
Yeah, I'm not even so much of a New York guy just after watching not Lafreniere, but I've been in and out of Panarin in terms of buying and selling and hoping, and like Panarin is an absolutely incredible player. Everyone knows it, the world knows it, but who clearly doesn't seem to care or doesn't seem to matter much to you is the hockey card world. That card just floats and bounces between $40 and $80 and doesn't do anything else. He came back after um, well, it was after the big Russian thing, the
Yep.
Russian situation, and he's been on fire. Compared to the start of the season, and that card just can't gain any traction. But I'm certainly with you on the other markets that there seems to be certainly a premium there, and the Montreal premium is definitely a premium on a premium.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a whole different animal. Yeah, I was looking at Panarin actually today. He's third in points per game to
Right.
only our friends McDavid and Draisaitl.
Yes.
So yeah,
Last I checked, McKinnon was fourth. I don't, and he has to be still right there because he's put up a
yep.
couple the last couple games. He was sitting in fourth in points per game, but I guess I got to bring the Avalanche into every conversation
You
that
do.
I have.
You do. You do. Yeah.
So in the last video I did, I don't know if you saw it, but regardless, I posed sort of a question, and I don't know if I articulated it completely correctly, but I'll give a quick synopsis. The basic question is, how much long-term value do you believe that non-elite players have? So we know you can ignore Gretzky and Lemieux and Waugh and Messier.
Sure.
Like these guys, we know those guys are always going to have value. I think Connor, Sid, and Ovi, we can throw those out. Those guys are going to have value. But and then below that, I guess what I also had this in the video. You got like just sort of the upper guys, McKinnon and Matthews and Draisaitl, obviously. I think Kucherov is pretty darn close. But the players below that, I put Sebastian Aho. I don't know. You can throw Kyle Connor in there, Mikko Rantanen, just your everyday. Like, these are very good players. These are
Yep.
top level players. But the question to you is, what sort of value do you think that those guys are going to have in 10 years? Let's say after retirement, and we won't assume Hall of Fame. What kind of value do you think they're going to have in 10 years?
Yeah. So like, first off, I like to suggest to people that they should diversify a little bit and, have some of the rookies that haven't played, some of the, guys like you're talking about, some of the superstars, some of the retired guys. Because like the more new or the more uncertain it is, the riskier it is. And I would actually compare, like, if you looked at that group of players you're talking about that are like elite players on their team, but are not the quote unquote superstars of the league. Um, there's probably like 50 of them, let's say,
Yeah.
at the upper end. Um, and so like that's kind of like similar to like a young guns class. And so to me, I think probably there's, 1 to 3 of those guys that are going to hold really good value once they retire and once their careers are over. And that's going to be because they won 3 Stanley Cups, or they went to the Olympics and scored the golden goal, or like there's going to be a couple guys that stand out that everyone from this generation of watching hockey are going to be like, yeah, those guys were the guys.
Right.
And whether that's, McDavid or, McKinnon, or like who knows who it is. Like, it's hard to say. Like, is McDavid's value even going to be as insane as it is right now if he never wins a cup? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly interesting. I just don't know either. I mean, I think the big guys are obviously always going to hold value, and people are just going to want to buy those. I just really wonder, with all these slabs at PSA and all these cards coming back, I suppose when you look at it relatively, hockey has pretty low pop counts. Like,
Yep.
to have any, if a card has a pop count of like 800 to 1,000, like that's relatively high. But even I'm just looking behind you right there. I'll grab the abs guy. There's Gabe Landeskog behind you.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm pretty sure if Gabe Landeskog had a pop 800, there are 800 Colorado fans where it's not really going to be too hard to get rid of those. But then again, the question is at what price? Because people will want them, but then the question's the price. But
but how much do they want them? And Landeskog wasn't that expensive. He wasn't free, but like for the quality of player he is, which is a very, very good player, it seemed like a bargain. And some of these, older players that I bought that are behind me, I bought kind of in the first couple months because they're like the stars in my mind. And I love having them, but they're not necessarily the best investments, because their like stardom isn't changing so much. If Landeskog wins a cup or wins like 2 cups in a row, like I'm sure his value does spike, but it's not the same as, if Makar comes in and wins a cup in his second year.
right. Yeah, and Gabe will. You're talking about this year and next year when the Avs win the cup, and we'll see what happens after those 2 years and how prices do. Lots going on. We're pretty deep into it in terms of the hockey season. What are some of the things that you're seeing that are maybe a little bit surprising to you, just overall? And first of all, what do you think of the season with the different divisions?
Yeah, I mean, I've really enjoyed the North Division for sure.
Yeah.
I will say that if anyone still thinks that the North Division is easier to score in, it's not. Statistically, it's like the same. So McDavid and Draisaitl are that good. But that's not surprising. You asked me what's surprising. Like, to me, it's kind of surprising that there's not a lot of playoff races going on. Like, there's maybe a couple teams that are trying to fight in, but there's 2 divisions that I think are all but locked up, one being the North.
Yeah.
And then there's like, I think it's Chicago and Nashville kind of fighting, and Arizona and Dallas. But besides that, like, we're not seeing the same like crunch right at the bottom.
No, I think there's 2 races for the 4th spot. I meant to have the standings up in front of me, but I don't. So yeah, the North, it got off to a fiery start there though. Like that that division in the first, I don't know what it was, 10 or 15-ish games, somewhere in there. The pace that they were going at was insane, and it's to be expected, right? These it's like a mini league, right? These guys are playing each other over and over, and I'm sure they're sick of each other's faces at this point.
Oh man.
But It at the same time, it's really good for the rivalry, and I love that North Division too. Obviously, we're Canadians. I'm a Colorado fan, but I do love this North Division, and I'm watching a lot more Winnipeg games, and I can cheer for them now because they're not in the same division as Colorado.
Right.
So it's the way it was before too. When I loved when Winnipeg came in and they were in the East because I could
Right.
cheer for Winnipeg and I could cheer for Colorado. But then once they did the realignment and Detroit went there and then Jets came over, now they're in the same division as Colorado. I can't.
No,
it's
it's not allowed
unfortunate.
anymore.
But yeah. How about here's the $1 million question. How do the Leafs finish this year?
Do you mean in the playoffs?
Yeah, well, how do they finish their year? Absolutely.
Yeah. So, like, I will say that their forward group, all 4 lines, looks better than I've ever seen it. But their issues are the same as they've always been, right? Like, they're not as deep at defense, and as great as Campbell has been, who knows if goaltending is going to be great in the playoffs. And so, I don't know. Like, I think they probably have a better shot than they have had because Matthews is, like, the actual star he should be. But does he do it in the playoffs? It's unclear to me. And, like, if they were any other team, I'd probably be like, yeah, this is the team. But they're not any other team. They're the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they can't seem to get it done. And they also have to go through my Oilers, so I'm not picking them.
Yeah. It would be nice if they could somehow get through the first and second round and meet Boston in the semifinal. Could you imagine if that somehow aligned and like
Wow.
like you they just know how that season ends if the stars were to align and that was to happen, because with the way that they're doing the seeding, when the teams come out, 1 is going to play 4 and 2 is going to play 3, so it's going to be really hard to predict. You have to predict every team, right, who comes out of the division, and then you need the final standings to figure that out. But it can happen.
It can happen.
And it could happen in the Stanley Cup final as well. That might even be worse for them. A Boston and Toronto final.
I mean, I think at this point, Leafs fans would be so stoked with the final. Like, regardless, right?
That's true.
They just need a couple series victories at this point, and I can see them pretty easily winning their first round because I think they will win those matchups. Probably Montreal is the harder team for them to beat, but
right.
I don't see them losing those in 7-game series. But it's really tough to say.
Yeah, Paul Bissonnette. I'm not going to use. I'm not against profanity, but I'm just going to try not to use it. And Paul Bissonnette used some profanities in expressing how much he thought and was going to bet that the Toronto Maple Leafs win that North Division this year. He put it all on the line. I'll put it that way. And I think that's still pretty bold.
Yeah, I mean, he's calling them a wagon. He thinks they're amazing. And his points are valid. Like I said, their forwards are deeper than I've seen. They've got, like, Thornton on the 4th line, or Spezza, and, like, Simmons. Like, it's better than it has been. But it's just one of those teams that, like, they've got to prove it before I will ever believe it.
Well, there's the section of the show for you Leafs fans where where we tell you we don't know what's going to happen, but I sort of feel like we know how this ends until it doesn't. Right. But other than that, I mean, lots of good things going on in the league. Any other teams this year really surprising you? I mean, I know I have a couple teams who are really surprising to me, but who's surprising you, and who do you think is maybe a team that not everyone's looking at but has a really good shot at whether it's a cup final or that? Well, that's just having a cup at a shot, or a shot at the cup itself.
Yeah, I mean, so my biggest surprise is the Flyers this year, because I thought they were going to be great. They ended last year amazing. Everything was going amazing, and they just cannot put it together, especially recently. It's been really tough to watch. So that's my, like, surprise that they aren't good team. Otherwise, the teams that are in the playoffs, I kind of expected. Like, I'm not shocked by who's in. But the team I would say that gets ignored every year, that I think this year is going to be amazing, is the Islanders, and they
Right.
basically just picked up a whole new line in getting Zajac and Palmieri, and that is a good friggin' line. And so, yeah, like that team is as deep as they come. They play very good hockey under Coach Trotz there, and yeah, I just think they're going to be impossible to beat.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you there. It's funny you say that. I'm putting together some research, some stuff for my next video, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each division, and I happen to be starting in the East, and I have more players selected from the Islanders for that reason.
Yeah.
And I think they're extremely dangerous too, and we'll see. What do you think of Florida this year?
Yeah, I mean, so Florida last year, I was like, this is going to be a good team.
Right.
And so they weren't. But now, like this year, when they're doing so well, it's kind of like, well, I kind of expected them to figure it out. It just took them a whole extra year.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've been lights out, and they've been getting goaltending. They've been getting depth scoring from like Carter Verhaeghe, and yeah, it's looking great. And they lost, and are still somehow just puttering along. That would be my biggest worry is they lost their best defenseman, but
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, we were watching that game together on Discord. Actually, we had because I believe that was actually against Dallas. So I think one of our buddies there, Easy, I was watching it with, and we watched him go down. And man, that's horrible seeing anyone in that situation, and that's gonna hurt Florida. But they're pretty deep. Barkov and Huberdeau back healthy, and doing what they do. So I don't know. I thought they were a little bit interesting, but. Anything else? That's sort of all I had for the agenda. But what I do have is I you don't know this, but I put together a rapid fire. So you ready to play?
I love it. Rapid fire, yeah, hit me.
Okay. So this is the way we're gonna close it out. I mean, we'll see, but let's do some rapid fire. Hopefully in the post production I can overlay some like cool music while we do it or something, but. Here comes your rapid fire.
Intense music.
Yeah, and there will be fireworks, and like the screen will have like balloons and like different things going. But okay, let's do some rapid fire here.
Beauty.
Favorite team?
Oilers.
Favorite player?
Oh, it's a tough one. There's such good players on the Oilers. Let's go Nugent Hopkins.
All right. Favorite card?
Favorite card, McDavid, Young Guns.
Best flavor of ice cream?
Cookie dough.
Stanley Cup winner this year?
Tampa.
Lafreniere, Stützle.
Stützle.
One card you wish you had?
Oh, any
card.
Any Future Watch auto black edition of an Oiler.
Nice. Favorite chocolate bar?
Kit Kat.
Biggest playoff surprise this year? Good way. In a good way. The team that's going to go the furthest and is going to surprise people.
Oh man, that's a tough one. I feel like Carolina isn't a surprise anymore, but I think they could do really well. I don't know. That's like the hardest question you could ask.
Okay. we'll skip it.
You know what? I'll go with Nashville.
Nashville. Okay, there you go. That's okay.
Dark horse.
It's on the record now, so that's good. Price of the next sale for the Gretzky PSA 10 OPG.
Oh my God. Like $3 million.
Okay. Most underrated NHL player.
Most underrated.
Yeah.
Let's go Rantanen.
Most underpriced young gun.
Underpriced young gun. Is it still Adam Fox? His went up a lot.
No,
it's probably
he's
not
up to
Adam
like
Fox
$50.
anymore.
Can't be him anymore.
No, that was my answer for the longest time.
He's up to 60 actually. I've sold mine, but here we'll pass.
Young gun. Okay.
Young Guns or Young Guns Canvas?
Young Guns.
The Norris Trophy winner this year.
It's got to be Kaprizov.
Norris.
Wait, Norris? Oh, should be Adam Fox, but it probably won't be. Let's go Makar.
Oh, it's gonna be a PSA 10 you wish you had.
PSA 10 I wish I had. I mean Gretzky, because I actually really want a near mint Gretzky just because of the podcast name. But yeah, let's go Gretzky. Why not?
BLT or Clubhouse?
BLT.
Don Cherry or Brian Burke?
Oh, John Cherry.
Buffalo Sabres or Detroit Red Wings?
Red Wings forever.
Flipper or collector?
Flipper.
Near mint or gem mint?
Oh, that's tough because my podcast is named Near Mint.
I was thinking.
I'm still going Gem Mint.
All right. That's all I got, Ryan. Thanks for playing.
I love it.
That was awesome.
That's fun.
Cool.
That's fun.
Thanks for coming on, for letting me do this. This is my first time doing an interview. I hope it turns out well, and I plan to do more, but I really appreciate you coming on. But where can people find you?
People can find me by checking out Near Mint Hockey Card Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts, I guess it is. Also at Near Mint Hockey on pretty much every social media. And find the link to our Discord on any of those channels and come talk hockey cards.
Yeah, for sure. Come check it out. But again, thanks, Ryan. Guys, everyone out there, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you got something out of the content. I hope I can do more of these in the future. You can find me. I got my Instagram there, Lapper Flips. Till next time, stay safe, guys.